Hello, my name is Jasmine, and I spend some of my time talking to people who have moved to Waterloo region and have brought their delicious food and food cultures with them. Sometimes this information ends up in my restaurant reviews, and sometimes you can read about them in my magazine column. So, when the Waterloo Public Library asked me to give a public talk on world cuisines, of course I said yes. I'm a big supporter and a big believer in the public library system and everything it brings to the community. So I asked them, what sort of foods are people interested in learning about? And they came back with a fabulous list that included dishes from the Caribbean, from Spain, from Morocco, from the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and there were dishes from India. And those dishes were butter chicken and chicken tikka. Now, those dishes, when they're made well, are incredibly tasty. But Indian cuisine is so much more than those dishes, and it really reflects the vastness and the diversity of the country. So the dishes you'll find served at home may not be what you'll find at your local curry house menu. So I thought about it. And I thought, why not? Why not share some of the flavors that I grew up with? My family's from Kerala, and we have an incredible array of flavors and foods that many people don't know about. So today, I'm going to show you how to make a seafood dish that combines citrusy and musky flavors that includes coconut milk and shrimp. There's a little bit of the signature tang that's present in many fish and seafood dishes, and of course there's a little bit of chili heat to it. I'm going to show you how to make shrimp pappas. If you've stumbled upon this video, no worries. I will put a link to the recipe in the description box. So I know all of you know what you're doing in the kitchen. You know how to cut onions, slice garlic, cut ginger into matchsticks. You know how to have those tiny little tomatoes that come in those plastic clamshells, and you know how to slit chilies in half. So instead, what I'm going to show you how to do is to prep a couple of ingredients you may not be as familiar with. So you will notice that this recipe calls for both thin and thick coconut milk, and that is very much about the which extraction the coconut milk comes from. The first extraction will be thick, the second one will be medium thick, and the third one will be thin. And the best way to do this is to send your helper out to the yard to get a coconut. But this is Canada, and this is winter, and this is what it looks like outside right now. And this is what happened when I asked my helper to go out and get me a coconut. So, plan B. And plan B is to use a can of regular coconut milk. Do not use light coconut milk. Light coconut milk is like everything else that is light and sugar-free and calorie reduced and diet. It's sad, and really it'll just make you sadder, and there are so many things that are unhappy in this world right now. Why add to it with light coconut milk? To make thick coconut milk, all you need to do is empty a can of regular unsweetened coconut milk into a jug, and this includes that thick cap of coconut cream, and what you need to do is blend it until it's smooth. To make thin coconut milk, all you need to do is stir in 1 part water and 1 part thick coconut milk. And the next thing that you'll need to prepare before you start properly cooking is to steep your kudampuli. And kudampuli is known by a couple of different names, including gamboge, Malabar tamarind and fish tamarind, and you can find it in Indian grocers that sell products for South Indian cooking. Don't use regular tamarind. Don't use the stuff that you would use to make pad thai or date and tamarind chutney. Also, don't use kokum. Now, what kudampuli does is it brings an incredible sourness that is key to many Keralite fish and seafood dishes, but it also brings a bit of smokiness to it, and it's quite an interesting flavor, and it sort of tempers everything. So all you'll need to do is just rinse off the pieces and cover them with water from a recently boiled kettle, and then you just let it steep for about 10 or 15 minutes, which is approximately the time in which you'll be needing to use the tamarind tea in cooking. You can, if you want, add the tamarind pieces to the dish if you want it particularly sour, but I don't. To make the shrimp pappas, pour 3 tablespoons of oil into a pan and heat it over a medium flame. When the oil shimmers, add a teaspoon of mustard seeds and half a teaspoon of fennel seeds. When the mustard begins to splutter and pop, add a 1/4 teaspoon of fenugreek seeds and fry until they darken. This really won't take very long. Then add 8 to 10 fresh curry leaves. If you can only find dry leaves in a packet, just leave them out entirely, as they aren't worth it. When the leaves begin to frizzle, add 100 grams of sliced onions. Stir them every once in a while and cook them until they soften and turn color. But while they're doing that, you can get on with the masala. Add 2 teaspoons of coriander powder, 1 teaspoon or however much you want of Kashmiri chili powder, and half a teaspoon each of black pepper and turmeric. When the onions have wilted, stir in a 5-centimeter piece of ginger that's been cut into matchsticks, 6 sliced cloves of garlic, and 2 long green chilies that have been slit. Cook them until you can begin to smell the aromas of the ginger and the garlic. Then add the masala and fry until the spices exude their oils and release their scent. Pour in the tamarind tea along with 400 ml of thin coconut milk and stir well. When it comes to a boil, lower the flame to medium-low and let it simmer and thicken for 8 minutes. When the 8 minutes are done, add 150 grams of halved cherry or grape tomatoes, 500 grams of shrimp, and a teaspoon of salt. Stir the mixture until the shrimp is opaque and just cooked. Then pour in 100 ml of thick coconut milk and another 8 to 10 fresh curry leaves. When it comes to a boil, turn off the flame and taste for salt. If the tomatoes are still firm, lid the pan until the tomatoes soften. Serve hot with plain rice or chapati or appam. Now, I know other recipes don't use both the tamarind and the tomatoes, but I think the tomatoes add extra dimensions to this dish, which I rather like. The tamarind's almost acrid sourness is balanced by the fruity acidity of the tomatoes, and also the tomatoes add a bit of sweetness that complements both the shrimp and the coconut. So this was my first time making a cooking video and shooting it and editing it together, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. I don't know if I'll be doing this again. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But until then, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can find me as Cardamom Addict. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to love your library.